Today we're going to be looking at how to compare numbers. We must remember that we should always vertically align your numbers by their place value and then begin comparing the numbers from the largest place value first, which is the greater of the number. So let's look and see what we have on these representations here. So we see that this one is a 1 whole number, and then this would be a decimal. So far our represented number is a whole number. We also then have 7/10 and we have 8/100. So this representation is 1 and 78/100. This one is also a 1, and we have 8/10 and 8/100. This one is also a whole number. However, we don't have any tenths, any rods that are completely shaded, but we do have 7/100. And finally, this one is another whole number, and it's almost all shaded except for just 1. If we know that there's 100th of the whole thing in there, but there's only 1 missing, that's 100 minus 1, which is 99/100. Now, if we wanted to compare these, we would start with the larger values first. In this case, it would be the ones place. If they are all the same, we would just continue by moving to the tenths place, and then we would be able to find which groupings would be the greatest and which ones would be the least. If we are going to compare them, we must remember to use our symbols. One way to remember the symbols is through a number line. The lesser values, of course, on a number line are to the left, and the greater the values are to the right. And when we put on the right side, we see that the greater than sign appears at the end of a number line as the arrow. From the lesser values, the less than sign is on the left side of the number line. So let's compare. We have 4 different hippos and their sizes. We are going to compare them by first looking at their place values on the larger side of the number. So the greatest value that we have is the thousands place. Since they're all the same thousands, we can now move to the hundreds place, and then we see 8, 6, 6, and 800. So we have, finally, the lesser values separated from the greater values. So hippo W is 3,800, and hippo Z is 3,800. We know that one of these is going to be the greater one because 800 is greater than the 600s. To find out which one is greater, we have to now move to the tens place. So 3,890 or 3,800. We know that 3,890 is greater, so hippo W is greater than hippo Z. Now that I have those two done, I can see which ones would be the lesser ones. We would use the same method, 3,640 and 3,690. We know now that that would have to come next for 3,699, so that's hippo Y, which is greater finally than our lesser value, hippo X. We could also rewrite this in the lesser values. X is less than hippo Y, which is less than hippo Z, which is less than hippo W. For these two, we have Italy and Japan. Let's compare these two numbers first by looking at the greater value. We know they both start with a 20 million, so we're going to move to the millions place. 20 million and 27 million. We automatically see a difference with those, and so we can say that Italy is less than Japan because 20 million is less than 27 million. For the same reason, J is greater than I. Let's do some practice problems. The table below shows the length of the railway network in each 5 countries. Which list shows these countries in order from the shortest to the longest railway? The shortest is the same as saying it's the least, and the longest is the same as saying it's the greatest. So we need to see which one of these is shortest to longest, or least to greatest. Let's start first by looking at our answer choices. We notice that A says France first, which means if A is correct, France should be the shortest of all of those, or the least number. So we could look at South Africa and ask the same question. And we notice that C also begins with France and D also begins with South Africa, which means now we only have to look at 2 to start off our numbers. Let's look at France. France is 29 million. If we look at South Africa, it's 20 million. So by comparing these, I know that the shortest one of those is South Africa. So I can go ahead and get rid of A because France is not the shortest of all of those. I can also get rid of C for the same reason. Looking at South Africa now, I can move to the next shortest or the next lesser number. Italy and Italy. Since they're the same, we don't have to choose that one. We can go to the next one and see Japan, but they are also the same. We can go to the next and see the difference is Brazil or France. So now let's just compare Brazil and France. So if we look at Brazil, we see that Brazil has 28 million and France has 29 million. Which one is the lesser one? Brazil is the lesser value because Brazil has 28 million and France has more with 29 million. Therefore, Brazil is the lesser value, so B is correct and D is incorrect. Here are the weights of the 4 hippos at the zoo. Like the last time, we're going to still look and compare them in order. However, now it tells us we're doing the lesser weights to the greater weights. So I need to find out which one is the smallest one first. Since they're all beginning with 3,000, I can move to the hundreds place and see 800, 600, and 600, and 800 again. Since I'm looking for the least amount, I know that hippo X and hippo Y are going to be my options to choose from. So now I need to look 3,648 or 3,699. 648 is less than 699. So hippo X is the least. After that, hippo Y is greater than X. Now that I have X and Y, I can go ahead and look at Y and Z. 3,894 or 3,806. I know 806 is less, and so that would mean I have 806, which is the same as hippo Z. So now I finally have my last one, W. So the lesser one is hippo X, and the greater one is hippo W. However, there's a second part to this question. It wants me to know which hippo would come third in the list. So that would mean I need to go through and see which one is third once I have it in least to greatest. Because we already started for least to greatest, I know that X is first. Well, that one went weird. I know that X would be first, Y would be second, and then I have hippo Z would be third. So I have my third option, hippo Z is correct. It will not be hippo X, it will not be hippo Y, and it will not be hippo W. So now I can look at these models and try to figure out which of these prices is greater than $1.60 but less than $1.90. And it tells me up here that each of these that are fully shaded is worth more than $1. So let's rewrite these. Store L has 1, that's representing $1. There's 8/10 that is shaded, and then there are some hundreds here. There are 8 hundredths. So this would represent $1.88. Let's look at Store M. Store M has $1 as well, and there are no tenths, but there are some hundreds. There are 7 hundredths. And because I'm going to compare all of these, I would like to go ahead and rewrite them vertically. So now I have store in. Store in has $1. And then there is also 8/10. Oh, I'm sorry. There are 7/10. There we go. And then there are 8/100. So this one is $1.78. And I'm looking at store P. This is $1. And like last time, there's one missing. So I know that this is 99/100. So this is $1.99. Which stores have a greater price of $1.60, however less than $1.90? I know automatically that store M is not greater than $1.60, so I'm not looking at store M. I can also look at store P. Store P is not less than $1.90, so I can get rid of that one. However, $1.88 is greater than $1.60, and it is less than $1.90. $1.78 is less than $1.90, but still greater than $1.60. So I have store L and store N, and if I look at my options, that is C. The distances in meters of these 4 students are shown. Which of these lists shows the distances in order from greatest to least? The answer choices allow me to see that if one whole model is shaded, it represents 1, as all of these are in decimals. So this would mean that Marisol has 1 as a whole number, and then also has 6/10 with 3/100. So this is 1.63. Benito has 1 whole shaded and 5/10 shaded with no hundredths. Similarly with Otis, 1 whole number, however he has 4/10 that are shaded. Angie has 1 whole model that's shaded, as well as 4/10, but also 6/100. So now I'm going to look and see the order from greatest to least. So I'm going to take the greater of these and put them in order. To help me with this, I'm going to put them in order vertically. And I'm lining them up by my decimals. My decimal just comes straight down. And now I have a clearer understanding of which values I'm evaluating. And again, I'm looking for the greatest. Because all of these ones are the same, I can move to the next place value, and I see that this is 6/10, 5/10, 4/10, and 4/10. The greatest one of these is the 6/10, which means 1 in 63/100 is the greater one, which means A cannot be correct and C cannot be correct. So now I'm going to look at the next greater one. I'm done with this option, and now I'm comparing the tenths still. 5/10, 4/10, 4/10. I know 5/10 is greater than the 4/10 options, so the next number would be 1 in 5/10, which is this answer here, and not 1 in 46/100. That would mean that answer choice D would be correct. If you still need help, replay this video and make sure you understand it. If not, continue practicing, and we will see you next time.